Wow, okay. So, sorry I missed it, but in fact there was a one-man cringe festival in Vancouver, on Granville Island, and I'm sorry you weren't a part of it. I won't bore you with the details, okay I will. So I caught the 5 p.m. ferry day drunk and arrived at around 8 p.m. at the Granville Island keg after picking up a 4-pack at the Granville Island brewery. I scoped out the venue and decided I was late and to have another smoke/refreshment as I was quite tired from the day's boozing. I figured I'd march in around 8:45 to catch Vita's comedy, of which, having seen only one YouTube video, I am a huge fan. So I get to the Red Gate review and there are a bunch of little kids running around having the time, parents cavorting, splendidities abundant. I could have sworn I'd heard something upstairs adult going on, so I asked the wellest DRESST man I could find if he knew where the Ever Cringe Festival was. He looked at me like I was from outer space before saying that he didn't work there. I asked the next buddy I seen coming out of the director's closet. He told me he had never heard of such a thing and to try the bar next door/down the street. I couldn't tell what bar he was thinking of and sailed over to the Waterfront Theatre, which was very closed, and back to the other theatre across the way from the Red Gate review stage, within which, greeted by reception, I was informed that she had no idea of the Ever Cringe Festival either. Feeling a bit had, and only having 1% left on my iPhone, I emailed you guys the state of affairs and sped over to the liquor store after asking directions from one fine young chef working in the neighborhood. I picked up 9 beers on top of the one I had left from the GIB and returned to a pleasant spot behind the crystal shop, next to the playboat on the pond. A man came around, and without boring him with the story I now bore you, I offered him a beer and we sat and watched the bats. We talked of nocturnalism, nocturnal animals and humans. I then noticed that I couldn't light a smoke as I had misplaced my rolling papers, wished the good man adieu and made my way up to the 7-Eleven down the street. There I bought papers, a meatball shish kebab and some chicken wings, apparently for a grand total of 10.47 on my credit card. Upon exiting the 7-Eleven I noticed a man quietly puffing a meth pipe with his converted shopping cart bike attachment. I asked if I may sit with him for a moment, and upon approaching, noticed that he was watching porn on his phone. He assured me that he was not disturbed and in fact quite often watching porn and smoking meth. He was glad to have the company. I sat with him and chatted about his divorce and work, and asked him to blow a puff my way so that I may remember how it smelled. It doesn't smell, he said. The bottle collection was high and left me there with my guitar, which I broke out to play the B-song and any other cringeworthy entertainment I could muster for the random passerby. A man came out of the 7-Eleven and asked to hear a song, at which moment I played for him 3/4 of the B-song, and at which the next he tried to give me $4 to stop, of which I politely declined, saying something like I just wanted to play my song and I work for a living. So then I left back towards my peaceful place at the Crystal Arc. I locked my bike up. I collected my guitar and jacket, which had been strewn all over the place, and took shelter in the playboat next to the pond until the security guard woke me up and told me to move on. At this point I noticed that beneath my cape and my jacket I had nothing on besides my underwear and my completely dry t-shirt. My underwear were completely soaked, so I took them off, using my cape to shelter my nudity. My boots were completely soaked too, but my pants, hoodie and socks were nowhere to be found. I scooped out around the pond, realizing that my wallet, keys, phone, and belt must have been with my pants, which should by all rights of logic now be completely soaked because of the saturation of my boots and breeches, to no avail. Alas, at the opposite end of the pond from the playboat in which I had slept, I found my hoodie, tobacco, rolling papers, and all completely soaked with duck pond water. I asked a buddy for a smoke. He told me he vapped. He asked what the hell I was doing half naked wearing a cape. I told him my story and he told me I was fucked. I told him the rest of my story. I asked how he was. He said he was fine and that he would check up on me. I scoured around the pond for my belongings, barefoot as I couldn't bear to wear my boots. To no avail. Then buddy shows up on a bike. I says, "Nice bike," and point to where my bike is locked up from the night before. "Do you like mine?" I says to buddy. "That's your bike." Yeah, we head over to it. I tell him about the Cringe Festival and that I'd brought a tent/strapped it to the bike to stay overnight in Vancouver. Never used it. Blacked out sometime after sniffing some homeless guy's meth exhalation, and he says he's going to find me some pants. So I'm sitting next to my bike, half naked, in a cape, thinking, well, this is it. But he has probably called the police and they are going to send me back to the psych ward. My roommate will have to find another. My belongings will probably be burnt. I guess this is a fitting end for thinking there could possibly be such thing as a cringe festival. And then Buddy shows up again. He bikes over to the maintenance men, tells them what I've told him. I scrunch up in my cape to smile reaffirmingly, and they come back with not only pants, but a Milwaukee grinder to cut the lock. I'm wearing the string they gave me to keep the pants on right now. I've got my bike, I've got my guitar, my jacket, stuffed my hoodie in my guitar case, made a couple more rounds the pond for pence, checked the bank's garbage cans in desperation, bid Buddy farewell, asked for a charity coffee at the Paco's coffee shop, which I achieved with the farewell of "Don't expect this every day." GTFO'd. So now comes the greatest part of this story of the one man ever cringe festival. I met a man on my way to the bus terminal. He had a pack of cigarettes next to him. I asked him, "Excuse me, sir, may I please have one of your cigarettes?" He replied, stone-faced, "Have you got a lighter?" I had, so I booked it over to where I had been hanging out with crackhead Mike the night before to see if in fact on the off chance I had dropped my lighter whilst smoking so many cigarettes. There it was, right next to the garbage can, the old 711 black that I had bought 3 weeks previous in Victoria. I raced back and approached the old man, walking with a cane, apparently back out of his building once again to smoke. "May I please have one of your cigarettes, sir?" I said, offering him the lighter. He handed me a Damoiri and produced his own lighter in reciprocation. We sat and smoked. We didn't speak. It was one of the best cigarettes of my life so far. I made my way to the SkyTrain. I busked mainly my new hit tune off of my 4th studio album still in progress. It goes like this. I've been making plans with my baby Ruby. Been shaking hands for my baby Ruby. Been sharing glands with my baby Ruby. Gonna take a stand for my baby Ruby. We've got a loan now, you've got a loan now, we've all got loans now covered up and growing out of our skulls into student mortgages. I've been asking friends about my baby Ruby. Used to run into them all the time with my baby Ruby. We've been gone split ends, the hair of my baby Ruby. Had so many friends before my baby and I split my baby Ruby so long for my it was all wrong for my it wasn't long before I it didn't all and hope for my baby and I my baby Ruby. At first I got pancakes, butter, maple syrup and a hash brown. Then a man with a cardboard box gave me 2.45 and at last a woman with an accent blessed me with the 50 cents I needed to catch the train and the bus to the ferry. The woman at the ferry terminal gave me her debit card as I've promised to send her any transfer of the amount when I am able. And here I am cringy still. So to what was the Ever Cringe Festival? What should be the Ever Cringe Festival? And to what would have been the Ever Cringe Festival? I send my deepest and most humble of apologies with hopes that I may never apologize to you again, your friend.